Hello, hello. I know what you're saying. You're like, oh no, there she is again. She's gonna make us do jumping jacks or. Whew, how was the afternoon session? How were your meetings? Did you all go to the meetings? It's kind of no, no. All right, that's okay. That's all right. Is the sun shining? I have not been outside since last night. So what's it like out there? It's good. California weather because California's got some DC weather going on. All right, so welcome back to our afternoon, day one, our afternoon session. Hopefully things are going well. And we're going to kick it off with one of our core member of the year. Come on up, Rosalina. Rosalina Lopez is an AmeriCorps alum from the San Jose Conservation Corps and Charter School in California. And Rosalina has a special place in my heart because I was with them in San Jose at their celebration back in October, I think. And so I am just as excited for her to be here to come and to talk with us, to tell us about her story. Her story starts a little bit like, despite her facing adversity, Rosalina is constantly uplifting her peers and supervisors with her can-do attitude and perseverance. While taking care of two daughters as a single mom, she has helped improve the community's green spaces by working on various vegetation management projects during this past year. She has been described as a staple and influence for other women in the organization by leading as example. Not only did she encourage her team with endless support and lead the way to various community improvement projects, but she was also able to earn her driver's license and become a U.S. citizen. Yes. Rosalina continued to serve as a core member while also working as a translator at the law office. She is currently working to become a certified translator. Due to her work at the San Jose CCC, Rosalina was connected to various new experiences and skills that have given her the confidence to accomplish her goals. Though she has come to the Corps with limited experience outdoors, like me, Rosalina plans to use her newfound skills and experience to apply for permanent jobs involving city and park maintenance. She also aspires to one day pursue a career as a medical assistant. I present to you Rosalina Lopez.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to start by thanking the Corp Network for giving me the opportunity to share my journey. I would also like to thank San Jose Conservation Corp and Charter School for recognizing my hard work and dedication. My name is Rosalina Lopez. Many express themselves in different ways. Could be pictures, songs, or quote, like myself. One quote that has stuck with me these past few years is the following. Did you hear about the rose that grew from a crack in the concrete? Proving nature's law wrong. It learned to walk without having feet. Funny it seems, but by keeping its dreams, it learned to breathe fresh air. Long live the rose that grew from concrete when no one else even cared. By Tupac Shakur. I was born in Oaxaca, Mexico. I first came to the United States when I was 13 years old. And unfortunately, like many others, I crossed illegally. I actually did not want to come. I actually did not want to come and live my life in May. Sorry, I'm so nervous. I actually did not want to come to live my life in Mexico, but no, I had no choice. Arriving in California, I started to attend middle school and I didn't understand any of the lectures. And it was hard to understand a language I have never spoken before. I was constantly being told I was illegal and didn't belong in this country. Throughout middle school and high school, teachers and staff went out their way to provide additional assistance, which resulted me in graduating on time with my high school diploma. During this time, my dad came back into my life and decided to submit a petition with immigration to help me become a permanent legal resident. This came as a surprise to me because I had not seen my dad since I was 2 years old. I received my permanent residence in 2013. This is when I finally felt relief and a sense of belonging. In 2015, I attended a program to obtain a certified nurse assistant certificate. After obtaining employment in that field, I quickly realized I didn't enjoy the work I was doing. I found employment in different fast food restaurants, grocery stores, and many other random jobs that didn't pay too well. In 2016, I met someone who accepted my life and understood my background. We decided to start a family. By the end of 2019, I was 2 years into my marriage. I had two little girls. One was 3 years old, and the other one was 6 months old. I felt like my life could not get any better. As we all know, in 2020, we were in a lockdown due to the pandemic. My little family spent a lot of time together, which was a great opportunity since we have small children. However, things turned negatively fairly quickly. My spouse's behavior changed towards me after a few months. He was very distant and controlling. I then find out he was abusing drugs. I didn't want my kids to grow up being exposed to that kind of style. His drugs abuse continued, and I didn't receive any support from him. I was not going to be a victim of his abuse or wait for something happen to me. At that moment, I made the decision to move out to my mom's house with my daughters. I was a single mom with no income, and I needed to change my life for my kids. I found a post on Facebook from San Jose Conservation Corp. They were hiring for one of their departments. I decided to apply, and in less than a week, I received a call back. They offered me a job opportunity with Resilience Corp, getting a pay living wage. I had no idea what I got myself into. I didn't know how to use any of the power tools. I didn't understand why my boots were so heavy and the heat was killing me. The only thing motivating me was my daughter's futures. Within a couple of weeks and the proper safety trainings, I started to feel more comfortable working on the field. I have worked in different city parks and trails in our area that I didn't know even that they I sorry, I didn't know even know existed. During my time, I have earned my driver license, OSHA 10, has offered CPR, chainsaw, chainsaw certifications. With the knowledge I have gained, I'm more confident in the work I'm doing. I take leadership by assisting my supervisors in making sure all members are using the proper PPE and managing daily tools. I assist in hands-on power tool trainings and motivate my crew throughout the day. Even though at times I'm the only woman in that crew, I feel empowered and respected in the position I stand. I encourage others to speak up, and ask for help when needed. Even though we don't have a crew leader in our crew, I don't need a title for others to seek my guidance for me. They chose to respect me because of my confidence, knowledge, and empathy. Some advice I will give to others in a similar position as myself will be not to judge others, treat everyone equally, no matter the role they are in, and lead by example. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. The Corp has many benefits that can help with educational goals, personal and professional growth, career advancements, and even scholarships. As an AmeriCorps member, I have volunteered and attend events that I can include my daughters in. With the funds I have received from the Educational Award, last year in spring, I paid to attend citizenship classes at West Valley College. This past summer, I received a letter from my citizenship interview, and I passed my test, and as of October 2022, I became a United States citizen. Looking back at everything I have accomplished these past few years and how much my life has completely changed gives me hope for my future. I felt defeated, unmotivated, with no support. Now I can accomplish anything I set my mind to. I'm not ashamed of being a single mother. On the contrary, I thank life for putting me in that situation because I realized that I can accomplish many things without depending on anyone. My first major goal is to have my own place for my family. I would also like to continue my ESL classes to improve my reading and writing skills while working towards a medical assistance degree. I know some of my goals will take time and patience, but I won't give up on what I want. The decisions I make today will depend on my daughter's future. I'm the rose that grew from the concrete that grew when no one else even cared. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Some of you are the reason why youth like myself turn their life around and feel supported. Thank you, Corp Network, for allowing me the opportunity to travel to Washington, D.C. to share a piece of who I am. And lastly, thank you, San Jose Conservation Corp and Charter School for preparing me for tomorrow's success. Thank you. I will also like to thank you, Brianna Horta, Olga Madera. She's not here, but they hired me without knowing anything about me, not without knowing my background. So I'm really thankful for hiring me, and also for with my supervisor, Lisbeth Nieves. She's the one that taught me like everything that I know until now. I'm very grateful with her. And Patrick, she's my personal photographer. And Dorsey, that he has a very great program with for young youth like me that they help. And the major that is supporting the corp. Thank you so much.
Muchas gracias, Rosalina. That was inspiring as always. So my name is Bruce Saito. I'm the director of the California Conservation Corps, chair of the Corps Council, and a proud board member of the Corps Network. It's my great privilege An honor to introduce our next speaker. Julie Rodriguez graduated from Tepache High School and later went on to graduate from UC California at Berkeley. In 2001, she became the director of the Cesar Chavez Foundation, and in 2009 joined the Obama administration, working for then Secretary of Department of Interior, Secretary Ken Salazar, and later went on to work with the Office of Public Engagement. In 2016, she became the California director for Senator Kamala Harris, where she worked until she moved to then the Biden administration, and where she now is the director of the Office of Intergovernment Relations, and just last fall was appointed to the senior advisor to the President of the United States. Obviously, Julia's got the political chops, but I think what's most cool about Julie that she's a fighter. She stands up for people of all walks of life, and she's a strong Latina that represents not just people across the United States, but her roots in the state of California. And to boot, she's the granddaughter of Cesar Chavez and the daughter of Artie Rodriguez. So with that, I'd like to introduce Julie Chavez Rodriguez.
Hopefully you all can see me okay. I think I don't know, maybe I should. Should I do this might be a little bit better. Either way, okay. Okay, well, Bruce, thank you so much for that warm introduction. I have known Bruce most of my adult life, and he has helped to just be not just a role model, but really show the transformative power that CORES and the CORE Network can have, and that you all witness every day, and that I've had a chance to witness through the LA Conservation Corps, through the California Conservation Corps, through the work that I got to do at DOI with the National Corps and so many others. So thank you, Bruce, for that. And thank you so much, Mary Ellen and the CORE Network, for inviting me to join you all today. I do feel like it's a bit of homecoming for me, working with the Cesar Chavez Foundation. I did a lot of service learning work and had the chance to work with a number of COREs throughout the state of California and across the country. And then working in DOI, I had the chance to look at how do we expand the CORE networks to some of the other bureaus within the agency that maybe outside of the Park Service hadn't necessarily explored those in the early days of the Obama administration. So it's just really an honor to be with you all today. And I want to begin by congratulating Rosalina. There she is. Just congratulations on being named CORE Member of the Year, and for your incredible journey. The inspiration that you shared with us, your story, becoming a U.S. citizen, continuing to represent your daughters and your family in the ways that you did on the stage and every day that you show up, is truly an inspiration. So just thank you for that, and thank you. Thank you for giving me a little bit of church today when I need it the most. And hopefully, now that you are a U.S. citizen, you're also a registered voter. Just putting it out there. But coming into office 2 years ago, President Biden had put forward a really, bold agenda, one that looked at, not just restoring the soul of America, but really continuing to unite our country, and to do so in a way that focused on, really engendering equity and inclusion, and restoring the values that, we believe are true to the kind of country we want to be and want to be a part of. And we're excited that, we've been able to set the country back on course to reach our climate goals as we've set them out over the years, to continue to improve and create good paying jobs, and oftentimes union jobs, to continue to help folks enter into the labor force, and to continue to really address the issues that are most pressing for our families, like affordable health care and childcare and lowering the cost of prescription drugs. And over, the past 2 years, we've been able to work together to pass historic, legislation that now we're excited to be able to work with many of you all on, as we look at investing more in America, investing more in our people, investing more in our communities, investing more in our landscapes, investing more in, the kind of communities that we want to continue to build. And we know early on, cities and states began to use American Rescue Plan funds, as we saw in San Jose and other areas, to expand the work that you guys were doing in your communities, or to maybe start new programs that hadn't yet been even imagined before. And so with the American Rescue Plan, we were excited to get direct funding to every city, county, state in the country, so that they could help to figure out, how do we meet those critical needs, and how do we continue to restore and rebuild our country, coming out of what was, a really traumatic, and I would say collectively traumatic, experience as we went through the pandemic, and all of the ensuing impacts that has resulted in. Um, and one thing that I just wanted to really take note of, because many of you all know, we passed the most sweeping climate legislation that our country has ever seen recently with the Inflation Reduction Act. And while I will definitely pause for that applause. While we're in the early stages of realizing and kind of implementing it, a couple of the things that I wanted to highlight that I think are critical, because they really are opportunities for us to continue to expand this network, continue to expand, the efforts that your corps are doing, continue to ensure that we have Rosalina Lopez's across our country, continuing to inspire our communities. So the Department of Interior was awarded $743.5 million for conservation and resilience of public lands, including ecosystem and habitat restoration projects. NOAA, or the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, which I can never remember what that actually stands for, was awarded $2.6 billion for coastal resilience to increase climate resilience of coastal communities, or to sustain coastal and marine resource development. So again, as you all look at the coastal restoration projects, the Department of Agriculture received $3.45 billion for forest resilience, including hazardous fuel management, vegetation management, restoration, and urban forestry. And these are just a couple of the highlights of areas where we know we can have a critical impact and critical investment in the work that you all are doing across the core network. And so we're excited to be able to work with you all to not just realize these funds, but to put them to work in our communities in ways that are not just restoring, our open green spaces, but that are also restoring the kind of humanity that we want to see in all of our areas. And we know that there's no one size fits all, and there's no, one community that's the same, which I think is why I love the work that the Core Network does so much, is because you all are so unique to the areas that you're serving. You're so unique to the communities that you're embedded in, and making sure that, again, you're not just addressing those needs, but you're reaching those most vulnerable communities. And we've seen strong examples of individual corps. As you all know, I come from the state of California, and so my examples tend to be California centric, but where there are also important partnerships that we've seen with organized labor, like the Long Beach Conservation Corps partnering with their local SEIU chapter to prepare Corps members to test for entry-level jobs within the LA County Parks and Recreation System, and creating those real career pipelines and opportunities. Or the LA Conservation Corps that's partnered with IBEW Local 11, Laborers Local 300, and SEIU 721 on heat and frost, and the heat and frost insulators Local 5 on new home energy installations and home energy efforts. Another critical area that we have are solar panel installations, and the kind of work we're doing to kind of democratize and to ensure that the kind of clean energy economy and revolution that we're seeing throughout the country is reaching every home, every school, every community. And again, the projects that we have to be able to support our communities with that kind of installation can really be endless. So as you all can see, I really see these next couple of years as not just opportunities to invest in America, but to make sure that we're implementing in all of the right ways with all of our communities and with all of you as critical partners. And so since Rosalina shared one of her favorite quotes, I just thought that maybe I'll end with one of mine that always keeps me grounded and rooted in this work, even as I'm, oftentimes in DC and what I call the bubble inside the bubble, which is why I like to be in this bubble when I can. But my quote is actually one from my grandfather. And he said that once social change begins, it cannot be reversed. You cannot uneducate the person who has learned to read. You cannot humiliate the person who feels pride. And you cannot oppress the people who are not afraid anymore. I have seen the future, and the future is ours. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Julie Rodriguez. So next, to follow up on some of the points that Julie was making, we'd like to bring up former Mayor of San Jose, Sam Liccardo, and CEO, Executive Director Dorsey Moore, the CEO, Executive Director of San Jose Conservation Corps, please. So I'm going to just stand back. They're both mic'd up. I'll sit down, but and just kind of help facilitate this next discussion. But it really, there isn't a better person, and I'm sure Dorsey will elaborate on this, to follow up on, again, what some of the comments or points that Julie just made in terms of a mayor that's really took advantage of really tough times that we've all gone through in the last 3 years of COVID. The city of San Jose is nearly 1 million people, 967,000 or something like that, and a county of about a million, Santa Clara County of about 1.6 million, 7 million. But really, it took an incredible leader like Sam Liccardo to really take full advantage of the challenges that not only the city of San Jose faced, but the entire nation faced. So with that, Dorsey, take it away, and I think
Great.
you've got some questions to ask for Mayor Liccardo.
Absolutely. Thanks, Bruce. Great. Well, Sam, thank you so much for joining us. Before we get into this, I just wanted to actually, and she just left the room. I was going to acknowledge Rosa, but when she comes back, hopefully she's coming back. But, okay. Anyway, we'll get her. Anyway, I was like a hot mess in the front row, and just when they like the waterworks starting to come, and just I don't know, it's just a privilege to have this role to be able to witness somebody going through a transformational experience, leading the room like this. And anyway, it's very powerful for me, and it really this is the privilege of the work I think that we all get to do. In many ways, I feel like we all get our lives through empowering our young adults to just live their dream. So as we get into this work, kind of looking back now, it's easy to make all the dots connect with the pandemic. You're like, oh yeah, we should have done that, or we should have done that. But back in February 2020, there was a lot of questions. There's this like virus coming along. We didn't really know what was going on. Everybody's like just everything kind of went into shutdown, and we weren't really sure what to do. And so we got our leadership team together, and we're like, hey, what should we do? Should we just kind of bunker? Should we kind of turtle, if you will? And then, or should we just kind of run to the emergency type of thing? And to a person around our leadership team, they all looked each other in the eye and said, hey, look, we're here to help. We want to meet the moment. And so with that, we started making phone calls to the city saying, hey, we're here to help. We do emergency response work and so on and so forth. And so we were very, very lucky to have a great leader in Sam Liccardo at the helm of our city. He was a 2-term city councilman, and he basically just termed out in December. But there was a lot of questions, and so we're going to ask Sam about just kind of what it was like to be a mayor in the early days of the pandemic. But also, he invested an incredible amount of money in young adults, and so he had a lot of intentionality around the future there. And so just San Jose, if you don't know, is 10th largest city in the country, 3rd largest in California. And so with that, I'm going to actually launch into some questions with Sam. And so this is one that I think we can all agree on. And so, but I'm going to ask Sam what the answer is. What's the best big city in America?
You had to stump me on tough.
Okay.
Yeah, Dorsey, thank you. And thanks to the Core Network for having me. It's really an honor to be with you. I know there are a lot of people in this room who are leading incredibly important work in your own communities throughout this country. So I just wanted to say a heartfelt thank you for all that you're doing for our young people, for our entire communities. I think I have some sense of the many long hours and the enormous challenges that you face, at least some sense, not all of it. And I just wanted to say thank you. I also want to say to the Core Network, thanks a lot for putting me on after Rosalina and Julie. It's like, coming in after like Beyonce, and I'm the guy with the ukulele. So anyway, so I'll do my best. So the best city in the United States, the answer is San Jose, of course. And the short answer as to why, we're a very diverse city. About 40% of us were born in a foreign country. And that is, I think, a secret to why we are also an incredibly innovative city. We lead the country in things like patent issuance, but much more interestingly, we are innovators in an area that I care a lot about, which is food. The Eggo waffle was invented in San Jose. Fruit cocktail was invented in San Jose. And so was the garlic French fry. So that's how we roll. And if you don't think those things are important, then you should ask your 6-year-old, because I guarantee you fruit cocktail and Eggo waffles are in the top 2.
All right, outstanding. All right, so.
Never thought you're going there with this question, huh?
All right, so dialing it back in, and so just back in the, I know that was like the infomercial for San Jose.
Yeah, you got
it. All right, so tell us about, this is the first time I think we've had a big city mayor come and talk to us. And so wanted to kind of hear what it's like to be inside the mind of a mayor. What was your mindset like in the early days of the pandemic, as things are occurring, and how did you, what were like, maybe you can talk about like before the pandemic, and then also once the pandemic happened, what was the kind of mindset shift that you had to do in decision making and focus?
Yeah, so I mean, focus of a mayor is like the #1 challenge, right? Because in a big city, there are a million things happening, and they're all important problems. But the great challenge of our city and throughout big cities in California is the growing divide. The fact that here we are in the heart of Silicon Valley, lots of people doing very well, and thousands of families being left out. And what are we doing about that? Housing costs and all the other challenges. And then the pandemic hits, and all of a sudden, that growing divide just became multiplied by 10x, because it was not just determining who was in substandard housing and who wasn't, but literally who was living or dying, as we saw the patterns of infection and death and morbidity. It was just so palpable. And so it forced all of us to take a very hard look at what we were doing, and particularly around that issue, around the divide. And we know the divide is economic. We know it's racial. In San Jose, it's geographic to a large extent. East San Jose is predominantly Latino, and that is where ground zero was for a lot of the challenge with the pandemic in terms of infection rates. And so we really wanted to focus our energies one way or another in alleviating the enormous pain being felt predominantly in Central and East San Jose, where we knew an awful lot of people, particularly young people, were supporting themselves and their families with service jobs at hotels or airports that didn't exist anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yep, great. And then, so just as you were kind of creating the Resilience Corps, just as with like those emergency response going on, there was also kind of, and then we started pivoting into recovery. And so, can you tell us a little about what was your either inspiration for creating the Resilience Corps, or what were some of your focus areas for that? Because it was more than just the Conservation Corps, I believe.
Yeah, like all great ideas, it wasn't mine. It was already very much in one form or another already in existence. We already had a great Conservation Corps, and I knew that because you talk about running into the fire. I mean, I can remember being there when a flood hit our city in 2017. And we were out there filling sandbags, and sure enough, the folks out there was all Conservation Corps. I mean, I knew when we were in trouble, this Conservation Corps was going to step up. And we had just launched something statewide with Governor Newsom called the Climate Action Corps, which is a predominantly volunteer-based group. And, really kind of leveraging the altruism that we know and the passion that exists in this generation of young people who recognize, unlike some adults in this city, the imperative of climate and climate change, and want to get engaged in doing something about it. And so that was an interesting model. Obviously, what you and your team were doing already, Dorsey, was tremendous, and we knew we had great partners because you'd been amazing partners with us in the past. And so we were thinking about how we could leverage what already existed. So like all mayors that are interested in press releases, I came up with my own name for it. And pretty much, you did all the work. But but the the focus was really, we knew that we're seeing skyrocketing unemployment rates among 20-somethings in our city because of what was going on with the pandemic and the economy and the shutdown. We had this opportunity with ARPA funding, and I can tell you in every bureaucracy, and this is true in every city, county, et cetera, there is a department director at every level who will tell you how they need more money, and they're right. They all need more money. And our library director, our police chief, and everybody else said we need more money because we're underfunded, and of course they're all right. But the reality is we gave them all more money. They couldn't hire anyway because we had a huge labor shortage challenge in San Jose, and many other cities in the area did. And there's just no point in throwing money where there aren't people. And so what was really imperative for us was how could we develop actually a talent pipeline? How can we do more to build out our labor force in areas of great need? And the most obvious needs at the time of the pandemic were, of course, support for testing, food distribution. I know your team was deeply involved in that. We were scaling from, distributing a few thousand meals a week to 2.5 million meals a week. And so that took a lot of people in warehouses and churches all throughout the city. And then ultimately vaccination. So those were the most immediate needs. But then, of course, we had longer term needs around climate resilience and other things that ultimately Conservation Corps and other nonprofits stepped up to really help us with.
Yes, outstanding. And then one of the areas he was referencing on sort of food security. And so we had at our probably peak, we had about 100, 110 Corps members every day, 5 days a week. It started with like, hey, we just need you for a couple days, like maybe like 30, 60 days. And then, we got to that mark and then it was like, hey, can you go another 3 months? And so we had about 110 Corps members working for 2.5 years. Actually, they're still working today with their food banks because all the volunteers went away, right, during shelter in place. So basically the food, like the demand for food doubled overnight and our food banks couldn't keep up. And I think many of you in this room, if you're at least a California Corps, you had some helping hand in that as well. But our folks went in all in on that. And so our food banks really depended on the city funding to pay us to have 100 to 110 Corps members every day for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And that's a massive investment. So that's huge.
I'll mention, right when the pandemic first hit, there was National Guard
That's right.
deployed
That's right.
throughout the state.
Yep.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but there were political issues, I guess, and having National Guard people out there and for whatever reason. So then we said, okay, well, once again, please run to the rescue, and Conservation Corps was there.
Yeah, and a lot of the National Guards folks had to actually bug out to go. We had massive wildfires in that year,
Yeah, that's
the
right.
fall, and our friends in the California Conservation Corps were out there helping to staff those fire camps, so that was a big deal. But also, but they all took off from the food banks, and so they were kind of left us there, so we were happy to do it. And before we talk a little bit more about the sort of resiliency side on the climate change, I wanted to see if we could cue up the video. So we have a little video so you can kind of see the work that our Climate Action Corps, sorry, not our Climate Action Corps, our Resilience Corps members did. So if we can hit that.
I couldn't get these promotions or anything because of my background, because I didn't have these certain certificates or diploma.
Because some of us are paying rent and bills, and it's kind of not enough.
I was just stuck there because I was kind of scared to leave because I didn't know what else I could do.
And I was tired of jumping from job to job.
I pretty much felt like I was doing the same thing over and over. I wasn't really enjoying what I was doing.
As COVID rolled through our community, we knew that young adults were among the most impacted, and we needed to have a partner who understood how to rev up quickly to get people on a team, to be getting them motivated and actually getting the work done. Good news is the Conservation Corps really was the perfect partner to be able to step up. They've been engaging young people for so many years in our community. They knew how to do it, and they knew how to get the job done.
Yeah, the purpose of the Resilience Corps is to take young adults and employ them. Equip them with skills in natural resources and provide a career not just a job, but a career that's going to provide benefits, longevity, something they can do for the rest of their lives, provide for their families, be able to afford a living.
And in a pandemic, obviously, we have a lot of needs, but also with climate change, with all the economic dislocation. We came up with Resilience Corps because we know that is what our community needed more than anything else.
So one of the things we did was we looked at the PCA. San Jose actually does this annually, is they review every park and they score them. We took a look at that data and we compiled a list of parks, community centers that had consistently lower scores, and those were our targeted areas.
We knew that we were really battling a big, complex project and that we couldn't do it alone. So we partnered with local organizations. Even though we may approach our work differently, it's all for one common goal and be able to create climate resilient landscapes, green spaces, and making sure that they're accessible to all.
It definitely feels fulfilling knowing that you're doing something that is a lot bigger than yourself, and you're doing this mainly for your community and for the safety of others and all the wildlife that live out here.
When I came over here, I found out that this is what I like to do, making differences in my community, work with park, with nature.
Helping my community makes me feel like great, you know, like makes me feel like I'm doing something for my community, and like it's just a good feeling, you know.
Being out here, I feel like more people use the trails, and I feel like that's a good direct impact.
It's Conservation Corps members that are leading the charge. What I'm particularly excited about is we're taking young leaders and giving them an opportunity to really make change. And not only will that help in the fight against climate change, but we are cultivating the leaders of tomorrow.
I can see that I'm helping other people in my community and at the same time helping myself because I get to learn new things.
They were the only ones that actually pushed me, cared. I never had that in my life, so I feel like they really cared, and that's what I needed, is someone to push me and someone to tell me I can do it.
Realizing that I'm in control of what I do, and definitely going along a farther path and just staying in is gonna do me so much more better in life.
Like, could I even do this? Like, I wasn't even sure. And I think that's the biggest achievement for me, is just personal goals and setting goals and reaching them.
Makes a very big difference. Giving everyone a living wage, you know, helping everyone out, giving them chances.
Final thoughts, I love it. I liked being out here. I found out so much about San Jose. I'm covering all these new trails, all these new parks, and I love the Conservation Corps, and the Resilience Corps was a really cool experience.
It could get scary for some people. Try to join with confidence. You'll see later on, like in the future, how it pays off.
On behalf of our 1 million residents of San Jose, I just want to offer a very big thank you to the Conservation Corps for stepping up in this hour of need, for helping us launch a Resilience Corps that has become a model for the rest of the country. Conservation Corps has been a tremendous partner for many years in the city of San Jose, but never more so than now.
All right, very cool. And so I'm going to take a little bit of time. I just wanted to recognize some of this, we have a big staff here. We brought it, we actually chartered a plane. We have so many staff here, this whole front table here. Hey, and so it's just selfishly, I really want to recognize them. And so if I could have them stand up, and I'm going to call your names out. When we put in a lot of work. You know, we went from basically having about 60 Corps members up to about 350 every day. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy at all. And so the folks that we were able to bring we're all superstars here in our program, and everybody ran to meet the moment, and everybody grinded and gave everything they had. And so Darlene Padilla.
All right.
Jamie Couto. Brianna Horta, who was our Resilience Corps manager. Janet Beltran. Jocelyn Villegas Gomez. And you saw him on the tape, Edgar Echevarria. Way to go, Edgar. All right, and last but not least, Patrick Steven Spielberg Boyle. All right, okay. And so Patrick does all of our video production work with his team. So really well done, team. Thank you for all of that. So it was a big lift for all of us, but you know, each of us could probably name about at least 3 people right now that like you just really kept them out of poverty, kept them from being evicted, and kept their household above water financially through the pandemic. And so just kind of bringing it back into talking to Sam, you know, even though it was a Resilience Corps, but you layered it into our program, and no other big city mayor did that in this way. And this was huge. And not only did we have Resilience Corps kind of 1.0, which was ARPA funded, and then there was some other funding coming from Cal Volunteers called the Youth Job Corps. And so the city, under Sam's leadership, basically carved off a huge chunk of that to continue that for like Resilience Corps 2.0 for the next 2 years. And so that was huge, and that's going to be able to keep that program going, hopefully at least for another 2, maybe even 3 years at that. So that's huge. And so we were like, other colleagues around the state, other corps around California were like, hey, how come like that didn't happen? But it just didn't happen like that. And so I really wanted to acknowledge Sam for believing in us and really leveraging us. And we were able to get that funding out to the street level as fast as possible. And I don't think if you've used city staff or other folks in it, that it wouldn't have been able to get to direct benefit to the young people that needed it as fast. And so I'm really grateful for that. Cool. And then I actually maybe wanted to see if anything you wanted to add in that, or maybe we could take a couple questions. Would that be okay? All right, so Bruce, I'll let you, maybe Bruce, you might have questions too.
No, I think you can elaborate on this, but what was your thinking behind really stressing or really emphasizing that the wages paid to the Corps members really need to be not just prevailing wage, but living wage?
Yeah, and for folks who may not have the same sticker shock as folks who live in the Bay Area, for us, we had to pay it about $25 an hour. Yeah. And the need was obvious. I mean, the housing costs are so incredibly high, and $25 an hour is still struggling mightily. No question about that. But the idea was to give young people an ability to actually afford to live there. And you just can't do that at minimum wage. Although we raise our minimum wage every year, it's not nearly enough.
Very good. Yeah. Well, thank you for that commitment and really standing on those principles, because you all know, we probably talked about this in the last couple of years, but for other corps that we all took a deep breath of like, oh my gosh, you're going to pay living wage. But I think it obviously.
Yeah, I probably should say something more about that too, because the whole idea here was to create a pathway. And what we didn't want to do is to be competing with Subway and McDonald's. The idea was to actually demonstrate that we had a path to something better. And what's even more important than the wage is the fact that, for example, in our learning pathway, which was not the Conservation Corps, it was a group of nonprofits working with our library, where we're helping students primarily focused in our low-income neighborhoods with learning loss. About half of those participants in the Resilience Corps were immediately offered a job with one of those nonprofits or with the city. And we saw more and more of that happening as time went on. And so the idea was to pay at a level that made young people appreciate and understand that this was significant. It was a pathway. This was not just another dead-end job.
And did you, in your wildest dreams, you've been in the community a long time and you knew the Conservation Corps, but did you ever think that you'd hear I mean, the testimony by, that we just heard by the individuals, and not just a job, not just responding to the pandemic, but really doing it in a way that empowered them and really invested in the community. Did you ever think that would happen, or was that part of the plan? You were first just trying to get a job done.
Yeah, I mean, we all hoped, right? We were all hoping, and being able to listen to Rosalina was a culmination of really many years of all of us hoping for that kind of experience. Look, we know that there's an enormous amount of untapped potential in our communities, right? And as we think about all the challenges all of our communities are facing, way too many people are sitting on the sideline. And you can only win if you can get everybody in the game. And this seemed to be a pathway where we get people into the game.
Very good. Thank you. So did you want to open up for?
Yeah, maybe open up for questions. And as folks are, maybe as you're chasing down somebody with a question, I just wanted to ask Sam about like, hey, what advice would you give to other core programs around really connecting with their mayor and other elected leaders in their community to really kind of make a similar type investment?
Yeah, I guess a few things I'd suggest. One is, look, every mayor is going to say we don't have the money because they're all getting pulled in 100 directions. And by the way, it's not just mayors, it's counties. There's other people you can go hit up for money too. School districts, water districts, special districts, they all got money. In fact, a lot of them got a lot more than we do. So hit them all up. But I think the key is demonstrating the co-benefits. You're already spending money. You're spending money in a lot of ways. For example, trying to figure out ways you're going to hire city staff to fill vacancies you've got in your departments. And you could be training your own community members to fill those positions. And it's not just the money that you need to go find to do this, it's money you're already spending. I think those co-benefits, and we could point to a dozen other co-benefits. Obviously, when we're talking about climate change mitigation, we're talking about improving aesthetics in the city, all the other, there are many ways of demonstrating the different pots of money that you can pull from to justify a program like this. We fortunately had a moment in time when ARPA money was out there, and that certainly helped. But it also took a bunch of mayors. I should correct one thing you said. There were actually several mayors of us who came together. We have a little coalition, conspiracy we formed against the governor's office to go steal as much money as we can. And so that second tranche of funding really came with help of Michael Tubbs, who's a former colleague of mine inside the governor's office and others. And we all agreed this was something we all want to start in our own cities. So at least the 13 largest cities in the state of California are all doing some variation of this now.
All right, outstanding. Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you, Sam. So any questions, share, or any stories you would like to share about your own experiences or challenges that you had? And if not, I know it's been a long, long day, but.
Can I just offer one parting bit of advice as we're leaving? Oh,
so we got a question.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, actually, thank you for that question. And so about 23 years ago, we started we have a charter high school. And so what's special about our school is that we can serve over 18 or really over 19. Typically in California, once you hit 19, you sort of age out of high school and they really can't serve you at the same level of funding or like robust curriculum. And so long ago, the California Corps worked to get a special provision in state statute that allows us to collect the full sort of funding allocation to serve folks that didn't have the opportunity to graduate when they were teenagers. And so that's sort of one of our, our core tenets is kind of, the earn and learn model that make up conservation corps. And, when folks come to us, they're like, hey, I need a job, but also we know that the real thing that's going to move the needle in long term is education and education level and support and training. And so it really is the conservation corps model that we all employ in that way. And so, we didn't really cover that, but we had a number of folks in Resilience Corps and then also the other kind of programs that we had around the emergency response and also our regular conservation corps that are kind of dual enrolled in our school. And then also with AmeriCorps funding, they're earning education awards. You heard Rosa mention about like, hey, she's an enrolled AmeriCorps, so she's gaining that sort of money for post-secondary degree. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Question. you want to?
Yeah, offer my bit of advice, and you can probably jump in with some better advice. I think, we ultimately got 2 or 3 department heads who really got invested in this program because they saw the value. And part of it was because of the shortage of human resources in their own departments. And they said, oh, great, here are some really enthusiastic young people in our own communities who know our communities already. And so it's obviously critical to get the true believers among the staff that are actually doing the work and not just the elected official that's going to be out the next day.
Yeah, and so his successor, the new mayor, Matt Mahan, it was basically on the city council. And so he was actually also voting for, what the mayor's priorities were around creating the Resilience Corps and Conservation Corps. And so we've actually been off to a great start. And you may have heard we had these sort of atmospheric storms or rivers in California, and massive amounts of flooding. And so really, he put us to work pretty quickly. Really, within 2 weeks of him coming into office, we were out building emergency sort of shelters for folks around on top of the transitional housing communities that Mayor Liccardo helped spearhead in our area. So it's going well so far, yeah. But that is a concern.
So Sam, I think you wanted to close
Oh,
this
just
out.
the parting advice was this. Dorsey did an incredible job leading our Corps in so many ways. But one thing that was really important in terms of his relationship with City Hall and with other elected officials in the county and so forth is he dragged us out of our offices and get us out there. And he had me, I guess most recently, you had me on bikes riding around with those guys who are doing the patrol in the creek trail, which is awesome. Great gig. I wish I was doing that when I was 22. And look, you got to be able to see it up front, or you know this better than anyone. The work you're doing, 99% of it is the iceberg under the surface of the water, and it's incredibly important, and it's sustaining our community in so many ways. But if we don't see as electeds, we're not going to be investing in it. So drag us out of our offices and come up with creative ways. You can go find neighborhood associations and partners and others to drag the electeds out there with you doing the work you're doing. That's critically important.
Great, thank you. Well, then maybe lastly, what's next for Sam Liccardo?
I got to get her job. Yeah. You guys are right.
Are you 18 to 27 years old?
Apparently not. No, I'm going to be, I'm a recovering lawyer, so I'm going to go teach in law school next month. And still working on all that. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Dorsey Moore and the San Jose Conservation Corps. Thank you, Mayor Sam Liccardo.
Thanks.
Hello? There we go. Bruce, before you go, I'd like for you to be pick the first, I don't know how to get into this. Am I turn it upside down?
What's the prize?
I don't know.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
What's the ticket? Probably my ticket. So everybody get your yellow tickets?
I don't know.
Okay, yellow tickets.
Yellow? We're good. All right.
Did you see one?
Yeah, we do one. All right. So the winning ticket, hold on, Bruce. Don't go far, because if the person's not here, we got to do it again. Which prize? Oh.
$100 REI.
$100 REI gift card. All right. 668 703. 668 703. Okay. They weren't here, Bruce. You got to do it again. All right. 668 883. No, there's no name on the back. All right. We'll keep going. We may be here through happy hour. So 668-939. Okay. We may really be here through happy hour. Let's see. This is the one. All right. 668-981. Bruce, you're fired. Mayor, let the mayor. 668-983. What happened? All these people leave already? All right, here we go. Yeah. 668-928. We have a winner? Hey, we get to go to happy hour. Okay. I got to look at my directors to tell me what do I do? Okay. All right. So we're all good. And although we have a few minutes, I think, before happy hour begins, so give them a chance to get things set up upstairs on the second floor, right? So have a great night. Drinks are on Mary Ellen, so drink as much as you can. And enjoy as we celebrate Debbie and Harry tonight. Thank you.